From Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, this is Sportsbash, presented by Ticketbash.com. Ticketbash.com, where memories are made affordable and where you'll never pay a service fee. Sportsbash is also presented by Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning Service, keeping Long Island warm for over 18 years, serving their customers in Nassau and Suffolk with pride, honesty, and integrity. For more information, visit www.liboilers.com. Hi again, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It's the last day of March. I'm Peter Schwartz. Welcome to Sports Bash. I can't believe it. And we say it every month. I can't believe it's already April. It's already this. Well, this is the end of March today. So April 1st is tomorrow. And since we're not on the air tomorrow, there'll be no April Fools joking here on the show. And I bring that up because, working at a regular radio station like WFAN, or when I've worked at other radio stations before, it happens like clockwork. You get the email from management the day before or 2 days before. Here is a reminder, when you go on the air on April 1st, to please refrain from April Fool's jokes, because it can cause a problem. So I leave that to social media tomorrow, and I usually come up with something. So again, this may be just like a warning that if you follow me on social media, and that's at Schwartz Sports on X and Peter Schwartz Sports on Instagram, you may see something tomorrow. And I'm just giving my loyal viewers and listeners a little heads up that if you see something really strange that I post tomorrow, it's probably an April Fool's joke. But I just try to keep it off the show. Well, maybe if we were doing the show on April 1st, I might have to do a April Fool's joke on Tony. Tony Walker, my producer and the host of the Knock 'em Dead comedy show Monday through Friday from 11 to 12:30. But yeah, there'll be no April Fool's joke on the show today or after April Fool's on Thursday. At 516-465-3990 is the number to call. Make sure you're subscribing to Govs Comedy Club podcast channel on YouTube and Facebook, and follow Sports Bash Media on X, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also listen to the show on Apple Music, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Coming up on the show, we have two great guests on the show today. St. John's Athletic Director Ed Cull is going to join us at around 1:20. A real disappointing, heartbreaking ending to St. John's men's basketball season with that loss to Duke on Friday, with the game in their hands basically in the second half with the 10-point lead. But the season comes to an end. But good news a couple of days later with the signing of head coach Rick Pitino to a new contract. So we'll talk to Ed about that and what may come up next season. And also the baseball season at St. John's is underway, so we'll get Ed's thoughts on that. We're also going to be joined by former Jets special teams coach Mike Westhoff, one of the greatest special teams coaches in the history of the National Football League, and he was a Jets special team coach for a long time. He has been honored, or will be honored, by the Pro Football Hall of Fame with their Award of Excellence as part of the 2026 class, and that's coming up in June. So we'll talk to Mike Westhoff a little later on the show. We'll also have the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day, what's hot at Ticketbash.com, and the Coach's Collectibles item of the week. And by the way, it's an item that I know, or two items actually. We combined two items into one, and I know that Tony is going to love this, the resident Met fan. And he's already gotten a look at it because he had to put it in the system, in the computer. And I'm fairly certain he's going to put in an order for at least one of the two items that we're going to show you on the program later on today. Would that be true? Do you think?
That would be accurate.
Yes, absolutely. There you go. And also on Saturday, my wife Cheryl and I were very, very fortunate. We got to go on a little stroll through Belmont Park Village. So the people at Belmont Park Village invited us to go on a little shopping stroll through the village, the brand new village that's across the street from UBS Arena. And as part of that little stroll, they had us as their guests at the Islanders-Panthers game later on that day, and the boys joined us there. The Islanders won that game as opposed to last night, which was absolutely dreadful. But we had a nice day on Saturday, and I will take you on a little visual tour through what we saw at Belmont Park Village on Saturday. Right now, it's time for the Sports Bash Flash. It's presented by the Marty Lyons Foundation, granting wishes for more than 43 years. For more information, please visit martylyonsfoundation.org. Speaking of that Islanders disaster last night, the Islanders lost to the Penguins 8-3. Just go off on a tangent here a little bit. That was a game that the Islanders could ill afford to lose, because now they've fallen behind the Penguins by a game. Doesn't matter if they lost the game 4-3 or 8-3. They couldn't let that game slip away when they were up 3-1. And whatever happened after they were up 3-1 is just still mind-boggling to me. Pittsburgh gets a shorthanded goal, and it just, for whatever reason, the Islanders couldn't recover from it and just played terribly defensively in front of Ilya Sorokin. And not much time for the Islanders to think about it, because tonight they shuffle up to Buffalo to take on the Sabres, one of the best teams in the league this year. And the Islanders have to make up for last night by somehow coming away with 2 points tonight in Buffalo. Also tonight, the Rangers host the Devils at the Garden. Baseball, the Yankees lost to the Mariners 2-1. Yanks and Mariners again tonight with Max Fried on the hill for the Bombers. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Yankees were having some problems with the umpire last night. And they were trying to get him to make an adjustment because he was calling a lot of low strikes. The Yankees went 5 for 5 on ABS challenges in that game last night, and they really embarrassed the home plate umpire. I forgot what his name is. Doesn't really matter. I don't want to further embarrass him, but he had a horrid night. 5 times the Yankees challenged the low strike, and 5 times they got it done. The Mets beat the Cardinals 4-2. Mets and Cardinals again tonight. Kodai Senga towing the rubber for the Mets. The Knicks are in Houston tonight to take on the Rockets. I was going to start with the Islanders and go more into the debacle that was last night, but we're fortunate sometimes that things happen right before the show starts that we can talk about at the beginning. And in this case, it did happen at the NFL meetings in Phoenix. And for those who aren't familiar with the NFL meetings, this is where the coaches and the general managers come and they have these meetings, and then the media is allowed to interview the coaches and the GMs, and there's a schedule, when the GMs talk, when the head coaches talk. Today, it was the opportunity for Jets head coach Aaron Glenn to meet reporters, both national and local. A lot of local Jet beat writers traveled to Phoenix for this very opportunity. I think it was yesterday they talked to Darren Muji, the Jets general manager. I think John Harbaugh spoke with the Giant media yesterday. But today it was Aaron Glenn's opportunity to speak to the media. And of course, the subject turned to Geno Smith, who the Jets acquired from the Raiders. And we've already heard from Aaron Glenn previously. I think he mentioned it to some people at the NFL Network, Judy Battista, including that he basically proclaimed Geno Smith is going to be the Jets starting quarterback. There'll be no competition in training camp with if they draft somebody or they sign somebody else. But Geno Smith will be the Jets starting quarterback, and I think a lot of Jet fans should be okay with that as a stopgap. We'll see if they draft somebody this year or next year. But Geno Smith in this season coming up, 2026, will be the Jets starting quarterback. And I don't think too many Jet fans, including me, have any big expectations about what is going to happen this season. I think you'd like to see a little progress and a few more wins. But Aaron Glenn, who has said some really idiotic things since becoming the Jets head coach, and I think some people have questioned his ability to be an NFL head coach, but he said something today that is so mind-boggling that we have to play it for you. Take a listen to what Aaron Glenn says about Geno Smith.
And listen, he's proven a lot in this league of what he's done, especially when you take those times when he was in Seattle. Listen, he fits exactly what we're trying to do. So obviously we've created an identity. The foundation of our offense is pretty good now. Like, I just feel like he's the guy that's going to lead us to the promised land. He's the guy that's going to touch the ball more than anybody else on offense. And listen, I know he had his struggles, and I think a lot of quarterbacks, they have their struggles. If you look at over the last 5 years, the guy that's thrown the most interception. I mean, the top guys are up there. And listen, he's...
Aaron Glenn was okay when he said he fits exactly what we want this year. And that is true. That Geno Smith was brought in to be the stopgap quarterback for 2026. And hopefully the Jets could win a couple of more games. Just guide that offense and do better than Justin Fields did. But where Aaron Glenn loses us is where he says that Geno Smith is the guy to take us to the promised land. On what planet is he taking us to the promised land? I mean, how irresponsible is it for Aaron Glenn to say that Geno Smith is going to take us to the promised land? I mean, how could Aaron Glenn possibly really think that in his mind? There's no way he honestly believes that. So why even say it? I heard that. I saw some of the writers tweet the quote, and I'm like, did they misquote him? And I found, and by the way, thank you to SNY for the video of Aaron Glenn making an ass out of himself this morning. I had to go look for the video, and thankfully SNY showed it. Well, how could he be so asinine to say that Geno Smith is the guy to lead the Jets to the promised land? Think of all the quarterbacks the Jets have had over the years. You know, Mark Sanchez took them to 2 AFC championship games, but he wasn't the guy. We had Ryan Fitzpatrick, had a great year in 2015, but fell short of making the playoffs. And look at the collection of garbage we've had over the last few years. And you get Geno Smith to fill the void that you seconds before you said something stupid, you say he fills exactly what we need. And yes, he's the stopgap quarterback for 2026. But to double down and say that this is the guy to lead us to the promised land is so ridiculous. And I know Geno Smith got his career back on track in Seattle. He had some really good seasons for them. He was terrible with the Raiders last year. But in what world does Geno Smith come to the New York Jets and lead this team to the promised land? And listen, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know maybe what Aaron Glenn's definition of the promised land is. To me, when you say this is the guy that's going to take us to the promised land, I'm thinking that's holding up the Vince Lombardi trophy and having a Super Bowl parade. That's the promised land. In sports terminology, when you have somebody who takes you to the promised land, that means you're going to go win the Super Bowl, or you're going to win the World Series, you're going to win the Stanley Cup, or the NBA championship, whatever that might be. So when Aaron Glenn says that Geno Smith is the guy to take us to the promised land, Aaron Glenn is telling all of us that Geno Smith is going to be the quarterback for the first time since Joe Namath ran off the field at the Orange Bowl, shaking his finger up in the air like this after the Jets beat the Colts and stunned the world to win Super Bowl III. Geno Smith is the quarterback that's going to take the Jets to the promised land. My friends, how stupid does that sound? I mean, does Aaron Glenn think we're all idiots? And I know I say it every year, but I get sucked in when the season starts, get excited about it. But I've resigned myself to the fact that the Jets this year will win 5 or 6 games, or maybe, as the kids say, 6, 7. But is there anything about this team right now that would make you think that they are going to go to the Super Bowl and win it with Geno Smith as the quarterback? I don't get it. I don't know how irresponsible Aaron Glenn could be by saying that. He started out that quote great. He started out fine. He fills exactly what we need this year. And he's right. He's the stopgap quarterback. But promised land? I mean, what are we doing here? Do we even know if Geno Smith is going to make it the whole year as the Jets starting quarterback? We don't even know who the backup's going to be yet. But Geno Smith's going to take us to the promised land. Geno Smith. Aaron Glenn did not show much last year to make us all believe that he is going to be a competent head coach in the National Football League. And it's a shame, and I've said this on the show before. Aaron Glenn is an all-time great New York Jet player. And the risk you take when you hire a legend as your manager or head coach is that you don't want to tarnish that legacy. Now, I did want the Yankees to hire Don Mattingly as the manager. But if they did that, you run the risk of tarnishing what he was as a player in pinstripes. And I would go, remember Magic Johnson coaching the Lakers? That was a risk for the Lakers because he was awful as a head coach. But because of his personality and his charisma and everything, it didn't ruin his reputation and his legacy as a Lakers player. But Aaron Glenn, in 1 year, has turned off a lot of Jet fans who loved him as a player. And I did. I loved Aaron Glenn as a player. But he has left a lot to be desired as a head coach. And for him to come out and say today that Geno Smith is the quarterback to take the Jets to the promised land is absolute insanity and just irresponsible. It's stupid. Why would you say that? And remember in Seinfeld, when George turns to Jerry and says, "It's only a lie if you don't believe it." Wasn't that the line? I think that was the line, right? That's it, yeah. I may have messed up the exact quote, but you know where I'm going. It's only a lie if you don't believe it. So does Aaron Glenn really believe that Geno Smith is the guy to take the Jets to the promised land? I'm at a loss for words, although I just spent 10 minutes talking about it, though. When I saw that today, I'm like, what's he saying? Promised land, Geno Smith. No. It's time for the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day. It's brought to you by the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Every customer is considered family at the Embassy Diner. Mention Sports Bash and get a free dessert with your meal. We post the new question every Tuesday and Thursday on the Sports Bash Media X/Twitter page. You heard me on the Flash say that the Yankees went 5 for 5 in ABS challenges last night. Here's the question. Are you happy with the ABS system in baseball? It's very, very quick. The pitch comes in, the umpire makes the call, the catcher, the pitcher, or the batter taps his head to get the review. And then you get the video game portion of the program. Tony, do you like the ABS system?
I do not.
You do not?
No.
Do you think it's showing up the umpires a little too much?
Yes. I mean, excuse me, yeah, the calls are being missed, but I'm a fan of the human element. Yeah. Right or wrong, human element.
It helped Aaron Judge the other day because they challenged it and they overturned the strike call and he wound up hitting a home run.
Yes.
I think the next pitch or the pitch after that, he hit a home run.
Well, and poor C.B. Buckner.
Yeah.
For Boston and Cincinnati, he blew, they counted, I think it was 20 calls.
Yeah.
I think it was opening day.
But here, see, I like the system, but I think they need to tweak it because there's too many of them. So, like, you get two, and if you miss both of them, you don't get another one. But if you keep getting it right, they keep restoring the two.
Right.
But I think it should be like the instant replay challenge in football, where you get the two. If you get both of them right, you get one more. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, if the umpire is god-awful, you'd be spending all day. I mean, what if he made 50 mistakes?
Right.
So I think we'll have to live with it the way it is this year, but I think they're going to have to tweak it where, and I think the Umpires Association, they're probably going to complain about this because they're probably not happy that they're embarrassing the umpires.
I mean, at least it's quick. It's not like these play reviews that take forever. Yeah.
So it's yes, no, or undecided. And I guess I would say undecided because I'd like to see them alter the system. When we come back here on the show, we're going to be joined by St. John's Athletic Director Ed Cull. That's all coming up right after this. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sportsbash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,600 families, raising over $44 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $7,100 each, and your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 84 cents of every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Marty Lyons Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams, giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyLyonsFoundation.org to learn more and get involved. In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. I'm Peter Schwartz. It was another exciting season for the St. John's University Red Storm men's basketball team as they advanced to the Sweet 16 for the first time in a long time under head coach Rick Pitino, but the run came to an end on Friday night in Washington, D.C. with the loss to Duke, but still a great season and some great news that came a couple of days after that loss. And on the line on Zoom with us to talk about it is the athletic director at St. John's and a good friend of the program, Ed Cull. Ed, it's Peter. How are you, sir?
Peter, great to be with you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for taking some time out. I know it's been a busy few days for you and everybody at St. John's, regrouping, after Friday night, but also with the exciting news that came out a couple of days later that head coach Rick Pitino has agreed to a brand new contract that will keep him under contract for years to come. For you, as the athletic director, how much of a relief was it to get it done, and how excited are you for what is going to lie ahead with Rick on the sideline?
Yeah, we're lucky and blessed. I think we all know we're very fortunate to have Rick Pitino here at St. John's, and the circumstances of how he ended up coaching here at the university has definitely been a blessing, and what he's done in 3 years in terms of turning this program around. And our first Sweet 16 since 1999, Peter, if you can imagine, 27 years. We just fell short there. We had Duke on the ropes. I wish we could have found a way similar to what UConn pulled off on Sunday. But I think we're getting closer and closer. We're lucky to have the greatest basketball coach, in my opinion, of all time at the helm. He's back home in New York City where he belongs, and he represents our St. John's University brand and our city in the perfect manner for us right here.
3 years ago, when you had a head coaching vacancy, and I know you'd not taken the job as athletic director yet, but when the school had that opening and Rick Pitino was at Iona, but obviously looking to move up a little bit, it was a no-brainer to bring Rick Pitino to St. John's. And you touched on it before. In just 3 years, he's taken a program that was not very successful in recent years to where you guys are now in the national spotlight and selling out games at Madison Square Garden and having players want to come to St. John's. So this has literally been a godsend to the Red Storm.
Yeah, I got to give a lot of credit to our president, Father Brian Shanley. Father Shanley was instrumental in making the hire and bringing Rick Pitino over to St. John's. His years of being president at Providence College, Peter, he really had a tremendous blueprint and strategy. He hired Ed Cooley from Fairfield University at that time, obviously made Providence a serious basketball contender in the Big East Conference. Providence obviously had made some changes since then in terms of trying to find their proper replacement for Ed and for Father Shanley for that matter. So I think his vision, his leadership, his moxie in making that hire has just created instant credibility, instant brand awareness. We've doubled season ticket holders now to 10,000. Fundraising has been through the roof. We've seen a spike in first year enrollment for us. So it's just been a tremendous strategy. It's not only beneficial for athletics and specifically college basketball, but for our entire institution.
And it almost seems like the last 3 years, not that Rick has lost any passion for the game of basketball, because I don't think he'll ever lose that passion for basketball, but it almost seems as if coming to St. John's has made him find the fountain of youth, so to speak, because he seems so energized by the energy on the campus, in the city, in the entire area that has been just dying for St. John's to be good again. But it really seems over the last 3 years that Rick has been re-energized by what he's been able to do here.
Yeah, coach has definitely not slowed down at all here in terms of energy, enthusiasm, passion. Even conversations this weekend following the loss on Friday. He's got vision and strategy for next year as we enter the portal season. How do we compete, get further next year, get to that Final Four? He's extremely focused, laser in terms of his culture, his environment, and some of the things we need to improve on for next year. So he hasn't lost any miles per hour off his fastball. And I think in terms of New York City, it's just been a wonderful energy for him. He's got a lot of family and friends that live in the area. We played 14 games here at MSG this past year. We're trying to increase that next year. He loves being at MSG. He said this a lot, over my 18 months with him, that whether it was winning a national championship at Kentucky or Louisville or coaching with the Boston Celtics or the New York Knicks, he has never seen media coverage and media attention to this level that he has at St. John's University. And I think the love affair with this school, whether you're an alum or not, there's so many adopted kind of subway alums, we call it, in the tri-state area that grew up rooting for St. John's, and it's a blue-collar, gritty, lunch pail and hard hat, kind of fan base, kind of like you and me with the Mets, and obviously whether
I'm not a Mets fan. Ed, I'm not a Mets fan.
Oh, you're Yankees. I'm sorry. I know.
No, I'm the only Yankee fan in my house.
I'm looking at Tony's Mets shirts. I'm a little bit blinded, but whether it be you and me with the Jets, or obviously the Islanders, like kind of a how it really represents this city. Yeah. Because Coach Pitino's Yankees as well.
I know.
We know he knows that means, and he knows how to adapt and understand and represent the heart and soul of this city and what it is about in terms of its toughness and what's expected from its not only its players but from its fan base and obviously the attitude that comes along with it.
You brought up, we're talking to Ed Cull, the athletic director of St. John's, after another great Red Storm season under head coach Rick Pitino, who's going to be sticking around for a number of years to come. You talked about the transfer portal, which obviously has brought a whole new dimension to college sports, and rosters are going to change from from year to year. And I know you're going to try, and you and Rick and the staff are going to try and retool that roster to go even further next year. But it's going to be extremely difficult to fill the shoes left by Zuby Ejiofor and what he has left behind, the 2 seasons he's had the last couple of years. How hard is that going to be to find the next Zuby?
It's going to be extremely difficult to find the next Zuby. You know, when you're an athlete or a celebrity or any kind of entertainer or in the entertainment business, where all you need is one name in terms of introduction, Peter, right? Whether that be Madonna or be Jeter or Jordan or Zuby, you kind of, you know, that's pretty powerful in the impact that you've made in your industry, in your business, in your sport. And that's what that young man has done here at St. John's University. Not only being player of the year, not only being defensive player of the year, he's also the Big East Scholar Athlete of the Year, Peter. So 3.7 GPA. I know we don't talk about students going to school anymore, or academics, or graduation, or getting
they're a student
credits.
athlete. It's a student athlete. I know because I have one.
Yes, and your son, and you get it in terms of what he does in the football field, but Zuby does it in the classroom, and it's really nice to see that. Or if you paid attention to it Friday, you know, Mike Vaccaro wrote a beautiful article about, wow, Zuby got emotional and cried after a loss, and it wasn't about, you know, attitude or toughness. It was like, that's how much he cared about winning. That's how much he cares about his teammates and his coach. That's how much he cares about his university in a day and age where they have professional athletes being paid to perform. So Zuby is a throwback. He's traditional. He's historically been 3 wonderful years here after transferring from Kansas. I know a lot's been made. We'll honor him next year in our Ring of Honor, and eventually, hopefully, he gets his due, but he deserves it. I don't know how many times we're going to have student athletes that even play 3 years for us right now, Peter. That's the world we're living in. So Zuby is everything and more, and to our fan base, to our alumni, to New York City. We're lucky and blessed to have him, and hopefully we continue to recruit more student athletes like him. And I would just add, you know, we're paying student athletes, obviously, in terms of rev share, but kudos to Coach Pitino. He's recruiting a certain type of student athlete that has to live up to his expectations, fit his culture, and fit his demands every day in the classroom, on the practice court, in the video room, in the weight room, and that'll never change here at St. John's.
You mentioned Zuby going straight into the brand new Ring of Honor next year at Madison Square Garden. It was something that Rick Pitino announced, late in the year. What went into that decision to establish that Ring of Honor and to have it at Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, Coach has a wonderful institutional knowledge and equity in the sport of basketball in his 52 years of being a Hall of Famer. And whether that was at Kentucky or Louisville or Providence or BU or the Celtics or the Knicks, he's seen it on the biggest of stages and the biggest of arenas. And, you know, something we've been lacking here at St. John's. In 2006, they honored 10 legends, kind of a legends night, dinner, and around a game. Coach Carnesecca spearheaded a committee and a process of selecting those 10. It unfortunately went a little bit dormant over the last 20 years. We didn't add any additional names. We have never retired a basketball number or jersey here at the institution for whatever reason. So, you know, really try to pay respects to our past and our history and our tradition. We'll add to those 10 names in terms of that Ring of Honor. We'll continue to look at identifying who the first few should be in terms of retiring a number and a jersey. And then, of course, continuing to pay respects to our actual Hall of Fame. So looking at it like a pyramid, you have your Hall of Fame induction. Naturally, for any of your sports, putting in Hall of Famers. We'll have our Ring of Honor in terms of names, and then we'll identify some specialty with jersey numbers. And MSG has been a great partner. We played the most games there we've had this year since 1952. We're hoping to add more. They want it to be their home for us, just like we want to be our home. They look at us as their third franchise behind the Knicks and Rangers, which I was really happy to hear Jim Dolan and Joel Fisher say that publicly this year. So continue to build and continue to honor, and between coaches' support and leadership, between MSG's partnership, and then I'll throw a nice favor to Kenny Klein, our longtime Hall of Fame SID, who's joined us from Louisville, has helped kind of build out this strategy and plan. We're going to do an actual probably a PR day at MSG, Peter, before the start of the season, unveiling the full strategy and plan and having some of the dates. So we'll make a real fun kind of campaign and promotional strategy around the whole thing.
Well, I love all the extra games at the Garden. I do hope that Carnesecca Arena still gets that, that game or two, because it's still cool to see, games at that place. But by establishing yourself as the third franchise at the Garden, I would love to see the banners stay up for all the events, because I was with my family at the Knick game a couple of weeks ago. I looked up and and to not see the St. John's banners up at the other events. I would like to see. Is there any chance that they'll at some point keep all of the banners up, since you're going to be the third franchise there?
It's something we're talking about. I appreciate you're paying attention to those details. And, just like if it's Billy Joel, or I think Harry Styles is up there now, or Fish is up there now in terms of their concert streaks, how do we kind of at least have somewhat of a permanent presence up there? We're working on it. They've been great. We've added additional banners for our games. As you know, the Big East tournament obviously takes place there and has for 35 plus years in terms of the affiliation, the partnership. So we're working on something that'll be hopefully the ability to increase not only the presence within the building, but the continued partnership growth outside of the building, whether that be around ticket sales, marketing, advertising, some sponsorship pieces. So we're working on some different things, continue to grow that relationship bigger and larger.
And last thing, basketball season is over, but now into the spring sports, and the St. John's baseball program has always been historically really, really good. Tell us about the baseball team this year, and how exciting it would be for fans to come out and see the team on campus.
Yeah, it definitely should. Spring sports are here. Hard to believe tomorrow is April 1st in terms of where we are in the timeline here. Baseball won the Big East 2 years ago. Our women's softball program won the Big East last year. Expecting good things from both those programs here. Track and field has done a tremendous job of our student athletes and the quality of a student athlete that we produce there on the women's track and field program. So expecting a fun and busy spring for them. Lacrosse is trying to a program that's on the rise and trying to build a lacrosse program. As you know, the popularity of that sport in the tri-state area and the strength of the Big East Conference with lacrosse. Tennis and golf. The tennis program had a strong year where they won a Big East championship. Golf, as you know, with Keegan Bradley's legacy and the Ryder Cup this past fall, and what that means for our programs for women's and men's golf. So it'll be a busy spring as we head basically 6 weeks away from commencement, if you could imagine, and the end of the semester. So we're pushing forward, but it should be a very busy and productive spring here at St. John's and in Queens.
Ed, my friend, it's always great to have you on the program. Congratulations on another great year with the Red Storm, and we look forward to having you back on, and looking forward to all the exciting things still to come at St. John's.
Peter, as a Long Island resident, love what you do in terms of this show, and obviously it's production. A big fan of your work and your activity in the community. So keep up the great efforts.
Thank you, Ed. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Ed Cull, the athletic director at St. John's. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back here on the show, we're going to talk to the former special teams coach of the New York Jets, Mike Westhoff. He is being honored by the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and we're going to get to Mike right after this quick message from the Embassy Diner.
Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention Sportsbash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz. Again, thanks to St. John's Athletic Director Ed Cull for joining us in the last segment. And now to our next guest, and I really enjoyed covering him and talking to him when I covered the Jets for both ESPN and WFAN over the years. One of the greatest special teams coaches of all time in NFL history, and he is going to be honored with the Pro Football Hall of Fame Award of Excellence, along with a couple of other longtime coaches at a ceremony in June. We welcome to the program former Jets special teams coach Mike Westhoff. Mike, it's Peter. How are you?
Peter, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. It's great to hear your voice and see you. And first of all, congratulations on this honor from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I know over the years how much special teams has meant to you and your career, and to be honored like this and identified as one of the greats has to be really cool for you and your family.
Yeah, it is. It was very much a surprise. My son kind of orchestrated it, and it's been a tremendous honor. And I'm so excited to be able to share it with so many of the guys that played for me that want to be a part of it. And it just makes, like, one of the players, one of the guys told me, he said, Mike, he said, it's a great honor for you. He said, but for me, he said, I feel a little bit like it's almost a coming out for those of us that did a part of the game very well and were, itemizingly selected or mentioned, et cetera. He said, I feel like it's like I'm going in the Hall of Fame. He said, so, and that's kind of how I want them to feel. And I'm very, very happy to be able to share this.
And you're going to be honored with another former Jets assistant coach, Ted Cottrell, and also Bob McKittrick, who was an offensive line coach with the Rams, Chargers, and Niners. Ted was a defensive coordinator, for the Jets. And to go and get this honor with those two guys, how special is that for you?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Bob has passed, but he was Bill Walsh's right-hand man and was very well known in our profession for being such a complete coach. I remember going against him one time. I was with the Dolphins, and we went over to London in a preseason. We used to go and practice for a week against the other team and then play the game. And so I had the opportunity to sit there and watch, Bill Walsh and Don Shula kind of go head to head. And but Bob McKittrick was the guy behind the curtain with the San Francisco 49ers. And then, of course, Teddy Cottrell. I worked with Ted. We were together for a while, and he's actually a good friend of mine. I thought he was a very, very, very good coach.
No question about it. And for you in your career, special teams, for a lot of years, special teams, for a lot of people, it was overlooked. It just, there was offense, defense, and there's special teams. But as the years
they got to kick.
What's that?
Yeah, they have to kick.
Yeah, they have to kick, and they have to snap and do a bunch of things. But what was it about special teams that attracted you to that part of the game and helped make you so successful as a coach?
It's a good question. Thank you for putting it that way.
Well, I like it too because my son is a long snapper in college, so that's why I'm asking.
Oh, great. Good for him. Good for him. It happened very, very accidentally with me. I was with the Baltimore Colts. Frank Cush had hired me in 1982. I had a bunch of jobs. He mentioned all these jobs he had, and I said, well, I can do that. I can do all of them. He kind of looked at me like I was nuts, but I took them all on. I was the tight ends coach. I was the strength coach that time till we finally got a guy hired. I helped with the offensive line. I was his assistant, and I took the special teams over. I knew nothing about it. I had never coached it, but what I learned in a hurry is that it was pretty much generic. Everybody pretty much did the same thing. There was very, very little, if any, innovation. Everybody, they used to split the staffs up. Okay, you take this part, you take that part. If we have to punt, you take that. And everybody just kind of executed their part. Well, I learned in a hurry that I could become a little creative. But more importantly, I learned two things. Number one, there was very little regulation. There were so many. You could pretty much try anything. So I tried everything, and some of it got a little crazy, and some of the rules were very much changed because of that. But then also, I just learned that there was such a flexibility in it. But also, before every play, I had a timeout. So I thought, well, God, I got all kinds of time. So I started to draw, and I would draw everything up, and I became pretty creative, thinking I can get everybody in the huddle. I can make sure if I do this right, I can show them, a very, very, very good drawing of what I want to do. I can say, okay, don't forget now, da-da-da-da-da, and I can point it out. So instead of running one return, I would run 10, and we didn't make mistakes. And then if you just, I learned a couple really good lessons as a coach. One from Don Shula. Don was big about, look, everybody can't do everything. He said it's our responsibility to put them in that place that they can do what they can do and make sure they become an expert at it, because they can't do it all. I remember he came to me one time. I'll tell his name because I love to torture him about this. He said, it was Joe Rose, who does their radio down there in Miami. He came to me, Coach Shula, and he said, Mike, actually, I can imitate him pretty good. Coach Shula, he said, I want you to put Joe Rose on the kickoff. I said, I can run better than Joe. I said, where am I going? On the kickoff team? He looked at me and he said, I don't care where you put him, find a spot. He said, because when we need a first down, Dan Marino's going to throw it to him. So you better find a place for him. So what are you going to say to Don Shula? Yes, sir. So I learned how to start to move people around. And I did that. Then I was fortunate when I was a young coach. Actually, I was at Indiana University, which makes me pretty proud now that they've done so well. And I got my master's degree there, and I was helping coach. And we had a gentleman that had been a coach there for a long time, and he had died, a guy named Howard Brown. And Woody Hayes was coming over for the funeral. So it was my job to go up to Indianapolis and pick him up and be his host for a couple of days, which I did, and I loved, because he was such a gentleman. And I learned more football in 2 days than I thought I could ever learn, being a young guy. So here I'm chauffeuring Woody Hayes all over. We're headed back to the airport, and he said to me, Coach, you and I spent a lot of time together. He said, I think you got a chance, because he liked the fact that I was getting my master's degree. He thought that was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And he said, I want you to remember something as a coach when you move on. He said, never let a number decide a player for you. He said, I don't care if it's a good number or a bad number. That's only a part of the equation. It don't let that be the determining factor. I based my whole career on that.
There you go.
I never, it was always a factor, but I'm the only coach that went to Texas Tech to work out Zach Thomas. There were some scouts, but I'm the only coach. He was 5'10" and a half. He weighed 223 pounds. He did okay.
I'd say he did pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, he played pretty well.
Yeah.
Things like that. So, by keeping those things in mind, being very flexible, moving things around a lot, I was able to help take a part of the game that had been relative obscurity and kind of move it into a realm of prominence. And I think we very much did that in New York. I mean, one of the things I'm pretty proud of, we were in the playoffs almost every year that I was there. Mm-hmm. We were in the playoffs a lot. And I had nine different players with the Jets that led the National Football League in returns. Well, there's nobody touching that record.
No.
You're not, especially today. You're not getting near it. Well, it just became a mantra for what we did, and it was so much fun. And so now, I get to enjoy the fruits of that, but so do all these guys. And they're all coming. I'm going to have a party. I'm going to have the best party they've ever had. I'm gonna have my sisters and my old girlfriend are kind of running a girl that I used to go out with, and she's like does a lot of food and beverage at a club. And she went down now to the Naples Yacht and Boat Club. And I told her, I said, yeah, I have a boat. It's 23 feet. I said, I don't have one of those big boats you have. I said, quit spending all my money. So, but we're gonna have a lot of fun. And I'm just so proud to be able to share it with my family and the guys that are coming. So I couldn't be happier.
We're talking to former Jets special teams coach Mike Westhoff, who's going to be honored by the Pro Football Hall of Fame Awards of Excellence at an event coming up in June. So Mike, we've got kickers in the Hall of Fame. We've got a punter, Ray Guy, is in the Hall of Fame, and of course, here's my selfish question of the interview. Do you think we'll ever see a long snapper in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
No, I personally don't. And I'll tell you, it would have been back in the day, because, back before they changed the rule, which, I was actually part of it a little bit, when you could line guys up on the center, you had to have a big guy. So a lot of that job was handled by an offensive lineman. And many of those linemen were starters and were very good football players that also snapped. Now, you can't line anybody up on them. So the job has become, it's really kind of narrowed. And, I compare them. I say they look like high school phys ed teachers now. And no disrespect to high school phys ed teachers, but that's who they are. But, of course, what it's done with the game, if you watch, people ask me, I did an article with Sports Illustrated about it, why the field goal is so outstanding today. I mean, a 70-yard field goal is just right around the bend.
Right.
And so, okay, number one, you've got a friendly ball. Because the ball, they buff it up a little bit. It's not illegal, it's legal, but it's friendly. Believe me, it's gonna compress and explode. That's gonna happen. All right. You've got a perfect snap every time. When's the last time you saw a terrible snap?
It's not very often. It's not very often, no.
You very rare, because these guys are good. Everybody has learned how to hold, where they catch the ball a certain way, they put their back leg up, they move their elbow into the back part of their leg, it puts the ball right on the spot. Okay, you can't push anybody except for the tush push, which is kind of crazy. That's the only part of the game you're allowed to push somebody. But you used to be able to push on field goals. You can't do that anymore. So the rush, the snap's perfect, the ball's friendly, the hold's perfect, and you've negated the inside rush a little bit. Sometimes they still penetrate, make a mistake, and that does happen, of course. That makes the rush off the edge now less effective. So what you've got is you've got, if you don't have a 90% field goal kicker, I think you better be in the market.
Yeah.
Because you have to put points on the board. And so, that 70-yard field goal is right around the bend. And with the new kickoff that gets the ball up to the 35 fairly easily.
Yeah.
Okay. You get a first down. You might be looking at field goal range. So it's changed a lot of the game. But the snapper, because it's so isolated in its role, I don't think that it will move to that realm of responsibility.
If you were to single out a long snapper in NFL history, I would think a guy like Patrick Manley or John Weeks, Luke Rhodes, those would be guys that I think would be in the discussion, right?
Oh, I'm taking my guy. That's just me. I pick my own guys. I love it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I did like an all-star team in the book when I wrote my book.
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out, which is now I get a free ad on your show.
Oh, that's the last time we talked when you had the book come out.
I love doing it. It was really fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, James Dirth.
Yes.
The snap rush with the Jets. He weighed 280 pounds. There's still a guy in Oakland, California that's laying out there somewhere on the field. He hit him so hard. I think they just swept him off when they cut the grass. He's over there somewhere. He could hit. He was so tough. And he was just a great guy. He's coming to the Hall of Fame for me. But I would take James. He could snap. He could block. He could run. He did everything. So really a good football player. And I would take a guy like that he was so valuable. And, he played some tight end for us.
Yeah.
And helped out when he had to help. He did a nice job.
Oh, he was tremendous. I always enjoy talking to him. I still stay in touch with him all these years later. Mike, thank you so much for spending some time with me on the show. Congratulations again on the Hall of Fame honor, and I hope we can catch up again very soon.
Okay, you guys thank you, and you're with the Jets. You gotta keep rooting for them. I loved my time in New York.
Yeah,
I'll never look at it any other way. And so I'm a big fan. I'm rooting hard for them.
Yep.
They're not making it easy, but I'm rooting hard for them.
And Mike, as Kermit the Frog said, it ain't easy being green.
Well, he might be a little bit. I loved it. And I was one of the great times of my life.
Awesome. Mike, thank you so much, and congratulations.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Awesome. Mike Westhoff, what a treat to always catch up with him. Longtime special teams coach in the National Football League and a long time with the Jets from 2001 to 2012. And always great to talk to him. We got to go backwards. We skipped What's Hot at ticketbash.com. The Yankees play their home opener on Friday against the Marlins. They'll play Miami again on Saturday and Sunday. Knicks host the Bulls Friday at the Garden. Concerts and shows. Tonight, WWE's NXT is at the theater at the Garden. Barry Manilow, final Long Island concert at UBS Arena on April the 13th. Get the best seats at the best prices with no service fees at ticketbash.com. It's time for the Coach's Collectibles item of the week. And I know that Tony Walker, my producer, is excited about this. It's a pair of items. They're both framed autographed jerseys with photos. David Wright and Jose Reyes, two beautiful pieces from Coach's Collectibles. Which one would you rather have, Tony?
David Wright.
David Wright. There you go. Wright and Reyes. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them if you're a Mets fan, but that's what we have for you this week. Coach's Collectibles, your number one source for 100% authentic sports memorabilia and live public autograph events. Check them out online at www.coachescollectiblesny.com. And don't forget to use the code SPORTSBASH for free shipping on all of your orders. I mentioned at the top, my wife and I had the chance on Saturday to go on a tour and a stroll through Belmont Park Village. I want to thank Rebecca Fast from DLX New York and everyone at Belmont Park Village for a wonderful day on Saturday. We had the opportunity to walk through what is a beautiful area right across the road from UBS Arena, Belmont Park Village, the brand new luxury outlet shopping experience right next to Belmont Park there in Elmont. And we're going to take a look at some of the photos that I took at the event, and it's just absolutely beautiful. We're taking a look at the beginning now, where you walk through from the garage where we parked the car, and it's just really, really cool. We had a nice little breakfast there at Preda Manger. I know I pronounced that incorrectly, but we had a wonderful time there. And just walking through the whole area, you can play chess and checkers, a place to stop and do that. So we had some fun. Van Leeuwen wasn't open, unfortunately, but who does not love Van Leeuwen ice cream that you can, we've had it, in Manhattan before. Now you can get it at Belmont Park Village. That's the apartment where shoppers can relax while they're shopping, and a beautiful arch to walk in the main entrance. Just really, really phenomenal work that they did. There's a store, Valentino. Very, very nice stores there. Then we had tickets to the Islander game as part of the tour. You walk back through the garage and you walk up the tunnel that takes you underneath Hempstead Turnpike, and we go right into what is a beautiful home of the Islanders, UBS Arena. And of course, much different than last night. Saturday, we enjoyed the 5-2 win over the Florida Panthers from some great seats. So we thank again everyone at Belmont Park Village. There's a goal celebration that we got to see. The Islanders with a big second period on Saturday, and always great to go to Belmont Park and see the Islanders win. And there's the last photo there, the celebration after the game. But again, thanks to Rebecca and everybody at Belmont Park Village. Belmont Park Village offers concierge service, hands-free shopping, a luggage drop, and delivery to UBS Arena. If you're headed there for an Islander game or a concert, there's complimentary parking and a complimentary shuttle from the Elmont UBS Arena, Long Island Railroad Station. For more information, please visit www.belmontparkvillage.com. Former Giants running back Tiki Barber is joining the New Jersey Lottery to host the return of the New Jersey Lottery Rock, Paper, Scissors Throwdown on April 10th to 12th. I can never figure out how to play rock, paper, scissors, but I'll leave it up to the professionals. You looked at me like you.
I was surprised to hear that. Yeah.
I can never figure it out. And people have tried to teach me how to play the game. I just, whatever reason, it just hasn't resonated with me. But this is a great event, a week-long tournament with a field of 384 players competing for the $10,000 grand prize or a share of $25,000 prize pool. Tiki will be making a special appearance on day one of the event, April 10th at American Dream in New Jersey. For more info, please visit nj-rps.com. I want to tell you about some upcoming shows here on Sports Bash. This Thursday, April 2nd, the latest installment of the FOP, Friend of Peter. My in-studio co-host for the entire hour is going to be NHL.com managing editor Brian Compton. Brian was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in June of 2024. Walk MS 2026 will be on May 16th at Jones Beach at 10 o'clock in the morning. You can join Team B Comp by scanning the QR code on your screen. Next Thursday, April 9th, I'll be joined by former Giants assistant coach Kevin Gilbride. He's going to be honored by his alma mater, Southern Connecticut University, on June the 4th. He was a player and head coach at Southern and also the head coach of the XFL's New York Guardians in 2020. Thursday, April 16th, 2 days before the start of WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas, we are going to preview WrestleMania, and I cannot think of a better person to have in studio with me than my good friend, the cancer fighter, professional wrestler. We worked together on that football team, that existed for a few months last year, that we try not to talk about that much. But Sean Wachter will be in studio with me for the hour. We're going to preview all the matches, especially the big ones, and it's going to be CM Punk against the OTC Roman Reigns is going to be one main event, and the other main event is Cody Rhodes against Randy Orton. Those are going to be two great matches, but we'll go through everything. We hope to have a special guest on the show with us to talk about it, but that is coming up on April 9th. Before I say goodbye, I do want to thank everybody at the Indoor Football League and Capelli Sports for sending a nice care package. As you know, I've talked about it on the show. I'm very happy to be on the IFL broadcast team. My first game is going to be this coming Sunday in Orlando when Orlando hosts Quad City. So Capelli and the IFL sent over a bunch of things, including the shirt that I'm wearing today. So looking forward to sporting that on the trip this weekend. As excited as I am for the game, still a little anxiety over the lines, the TSA lines at the airport. It sounds like they've dissipated a little bit. It sounds like with the TSA workers coming back, that the lines have shortened. So hopefully it's not too bad at the airport here in New York and also in Florida. But excited about it. Really pumped up to do Orlando against Quad City Sunday on a streaming service called Overnight. So look them up. It's Overnight without the I.com. So you can look them up and subscribe. You can also watch Indoor Football League games on Yahoo Sports. So looking forward to working with Eric Coleman, the former Jet, and Caroline Fenton is going to be our sideline reporter on Sunday. So really, really excited to be back involved with indoor football. Can't wait for that on Sunday. That'll do it for today's edition of Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com and Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning Service. Thanks to my guests, Ed Cull and Mike Westhoff. Thanks to Tony Walker and everyone here at Governor's Comedy Club. And thanks to our social media coordinator, Leanne Burgess. Sports Bash sponsored by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, Coaches Collectibles, and by the Marty Lyons Foundation. Thanks to everyone for watching and listening. We are back on Thursday at 1 o'clock when I'll be joined by Brian Compton for the whole hour. Have a